Hey, well, this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. And the migrant crisis continues, but on Staten Island. Check this out.
And faster for Venezuelan migrants to work in the U.S., which has been a key demand from New York lawmakers struggling to handle the influx of migrants.
The news comes as people protest a new migrant shelter in Staten Island tonight. That's where we find Fox Eye's Teresa Priolo. And Teresa, what are people saying about the news out there?
Yeah, Natasha and Steve, people tell me that they are concerned for their community. They say they have no problem with the migrant children. They are concerned about the influx of migrant men, many of whom will be housed at what was the senior living facility behind me. Staten Islanders of every age and race came to 1111 Father Capodanno Boulevard to make their feelings known.
Would Eric Adams kick his own mother out to put illegal immigrants in here? My mother's 87 years old.
With encouragement from cars and slow-moving traffic, their message was clear.
They took out old people that were paying thousands and veterans and give them free homes. It's just unbelievable.
They showed up in droves for a second night in a row, concerned that this former senior living facility called Island Shores Beach is now the city's newest migrant shelter. 288 beds, once reserved for elderly New Yorkers, now turned over to the city to house migrant men.
I got an email saying she has to move out. No one knew here. It was a secret. No one knew what was going on here until now.
The city says that's not true. The building was vacant.
Still,
there's a concern that in the midst of this crisis, New York is ignoring its other problems, too.
My family's all military. There's a lot of military that are out in the streets, and they're putting migrants in homes.
This isn't Staten Island's only shelter. Tuesday night, things got heated as tensions boiled over. New Yorkers telling us they are at their breaking point, especially when it comes to kids in schools.
I feel bad for the migrant children. They're innocent, but our kids are going to suffer.
Mayor Adams says he's considering shortening the length of the shelter stay for single adult migrants from 60 days to 30. As for the vaccinations, all kids must be up to date for school, but they don't need to submit their immunization records to apply.
It's just a sad situation. It's not nothing about them. It's about the way they came in and about what is not being done for the people that live here.
Look, I have nothing against these people. I don't know them. I feel for them. But take care of our own first.
That's right.
Now, we mentioned this comes as the Biden administration has approved temporary protective status for Venezuelan asylum seekers. And basically what that does is it allows them not to be able to be deported. They can't be detained on the basis of their immigration status. It also allows them the ability to work here across the country, but of course in New York State. And that's the latest from Midland Beach, Staten Island tonight. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. The saga continued, the protests on Staten Island, New York, continue. Those who are listening to me across the globe, Staten Island is a place, is a borough in the city of New York City, and they're putting migrants are getting shelter everywhere across the city: Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, and Father Capodanno Boulevard has because I live on Staten Island, has some adult homes on Father Capodanno Boulevard. And on Father Capodanno Boulevard, now they're putting migrants, male migrants there. And the people are only saying on protest. The reason why the people are protesting on Staten Island because with the migrants, remember the borders are open. You don't know who is criminal minded. So they're putting the migrants by the schools, and they're taking over, and it's not right because they're taking over. They're putting the migrants by the schools, and they're also taking over the adult shelters, which is not right. Which is not right. You heard what the lady said, take care of your own first. But the migrants coming in is a hidden agenda. It's a publicity stunt, and it's a hidden agenda for the Democrats, and it's a hidden agenda for the 1%. You know what I mean by 1%? The rich. Who's going to benefit off the migrants coming? Because this is what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. they're planning for the migrants to work, work hard. They're gonna take your Social Security. They're already gonna collect. They already been sending Social Security checks. Gonna send Social Security checks to the Ukrainians, but it's gonna be for all migrants, and they're already coming in by 10,000 by the bus load every month. So by this winter is gonna be more poor people on the streets by this winter, and it's gonna be in New York City. Is gonna be like what Eric Cannon said. It's simply gonna be destroyed. It's getting there. This with the cost of because of inflation, the cost of living, and now you have the migrants. It's not there. It's not the migrants' fault. We're not blaming the migrants. It's not their fault. It's a city. It's not the migrants' fault. It's the politicians that are allowing. They're not closing the border. They want the migrants are going to work, and guess what? And when the migrants take over jobs, guess what? That leaves certain employment for other people out. They're going to pay them. The migrants are going to get the 1% is going to say, okay, we want the migrants to work. The migrants is going to go to work. Migrants are going to go to work, and they're going to pay them low wages. And guess what? If you don't want to do the work, they're going to give it to a migrant that wants to work. So if you don't want to work, you'll be out of work. And because you're out of work, now you're fetching this to make income for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, don't ignore this. Don't ignore this. This is something serious. That's why I always preach about investments. Don't ignore this. Because what's going to happen is that when the migrants, it's a fluctuation. It's not, the borders are not, they're not going to close the borders. They're not closing the borders. Joe Biden already decided in his mind he's not closing the border. And more migrants come, the more expense, the more there's gonna be a big freeze on hiring, a big freeze on cuts, and we'll wait and see if everybody that's working, city workers, city employees are gonna get their raise, which I don't know. Because the more migrants, you gotta have migrants want to work. The migrants are coming here to work they're coming here for opportunities and they're coming here to work. But with all these people, and this is not right. This is why Staten Island is protesting. This is not right. You're having them come into your neighborhoods. They're taking over the shelters. They're taking over the adult homes, which I think is wrong. Take care of your own first. Take care of your own first. And it's not right. You have homeless people that are veterans that fought for this country. Take care of them. But you know what? It's a hidden agenda because the Democrats are going to say, you know what? They're going to make them citizens. This is what's going to happen. The migrants are going to become citizens. And because the migrants, as they become legalized to work and become citizens, they're going to vote Democratic. It's all a publicity stunt. It's all a political stunt. They're going to vote Democratic. And guess what? They won't care if you don't vote because they got migrants voting. They don't care if you don't vote. They say, you know what? We let you win. So you got to vote for us. They're going to you vote. And guess what? They want it to be it's a publicity stunt. It's not because they care. And this is what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. This is what's happening. So buckle your seatbelts. We're in for, if you live in New York, the tri-state area, you live in Chicago, you live in LA, you're in for a ride. In for a ride. The reason why I say in for a ride because you don't know. Because of the inflation and the more migrants that come every month, about 10,000 migrants come every month to major cities, New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, and you know what else city they're going to be putting migrants are going to be coming. There's nothing against the migrants. They're innocent, and they just want to come for opportunity. Listen, I'm a migrant, family's a migrant. You know, even if you're even born here, and your family come from a different country, you're considered a migrant. You came here legally, but I'm telling you, this is what's happening. And as you can see, the protests on Father Capadonna Boulevard on Staten Island. Listen, they had enough, and and they're just squeezing them in the neighborhood near you. So mark my words, New York City is in for a ride. Eric Adams don't know what to do. Hands are tied. He doesn't know what to do. He's gonna say he said he's trying to run the city the best way he can, but Kathy Hochul, they said let him in, and now is a whole nonsense going on now, because now they can't even close the borders now, and now let's see what's gonna happen in the months to come. And ladies and gentlemen, my lesson and my warning to you is to make sure, don't depend on this, don't depend on your job to secure you or to give you a raise or a pension to sustain you, especially if you're not making six figures, or I'm saying you're not making in the 100,000s per year. Don't depend on that, especially if you're not making that amount of money living in the major expensive cities. If you're not making that amount living in the major expensive cities, my only advice to you is build up your stocks. If you're invested in stocks already, good job. Stop spending foolishly. Stop spending things. Stop and also listen to content that will educate you and edify you and educate you. Read your word of God, read the Bible, but listen to content that can help you better your finances as well. Because if things are only going up in prices, ladies and gentlemen. Prices are only rising because now the migrants are coming, and the budget for you and for especially with the Social Security, they're already going to be collecting our Social Security already. So I'm a big advocate of investments. Invest in assets. Stop making Gucci rich. Stop making Prada rich. Stop making these fancy names rich. But invest. Stop investing in liabilities. Invest in assets that can sustain you, that can leave to your children's children. Because the 1%, they're going to be okay. The rich are going to be okay, all right. It's the working class and the poor. We got to worry about something. Got something to worry about. So, my advice, even if you have $50 in your pocket, no matter what kind of income you're getting, you're working, at least invest $30 or $50 into a stock. Stocks are going up and down, but you'll be glad you did. This is the best time to get into stocks. You can buy Apple stock. You can buy a Tesla stock. This is the best time to invest in assets, into paper assets that can eventually help you in the future, to sustain you in the future. Stop wasting money on things like Nikes and all these things that cannot. They're making them rich. Because remember, and I'm gonna say it too. I'm gonna do a video for this. We're the biggest. Black people is the biggest. Biggest. What you call it? Consumers. Only 4%. What I mean by 4% of owning anything. We're the biggest consumer, $1 trillion consumers. We gotta start thinking. We gotta start thinking constructively. how we can invest our money so we don't have to work for the rest of our life until we're 70 and 80 years old. Because as you can see, the migrants are coming everywhere to a corner near you, and they get first dibs. They get first dibs, and it's not fair. They'll be collecting Social Security while you've been sitting there waiting for your Social Security until you get old. They'll be collecting Social Security now. Well, the live word today is coming out of Luke chapter 6, verses 36. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. Yes, let's be merciful to the migrants. Because it's a publicity stunt and they're getting used. It's a publicity stunt for them to eventually become citizens and vote democratically and eventually become citizens, take over jobs where they get paid low wages. And who benefits? The 1%. Well, this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. God bless. And if you like what I shared today, smash that like button. Also subscribe to my channel, Zaccheus Gospel. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. And be safe out there. Peace and blessings. And smash that like button. I really would appreciate it. God bless and thank you for tuning in.